Stop! Before you spend another old penny, take a close look at what you have in your pocket, your drawers, or even that forgotten jar of coins sitting somewhere in your house. Because today, we are talking about a 1,942 wheat penny that, according to the value claim surrounding this particular example, could be worth an absolutely shocking amount of money. Yes, you heard that right. We are talking about a coin that looks small, old, and maybe even ordinary at first glance. But what if I told you that the right combination of rarity, condition, historical importance, and collector demand could completely change the story? And here's the most exciting part. This is only coin number 1. Today, we're counting down 3 ultra-rare and potentially incredibly valuable U.S. coins that could be worth fortunes in today's market. But don't make the mistake of thinking this first coin is just another old penny. Because the details matter. The date matters. The condition matters. And the tiny mint mark, or the complete absence of one, can sometimes make collectors look twice. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why collectors examine old wheat pennies so carefully. And when we reach coin number 3, you may be looking at the most unbelievable coin in today's entire countdown. This is Coin Master USA. And today, we're going hunting for hidden treasure. Intro. Welcome back to Coin Master USA, where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, valuable coins, and incredible pieces of American history. If you're a coin collector, a treasure hunter, or someone who simply loves the idea that an old coin could be hiding a surprising story, then you're absolutely in the right place. And today's countdown is going to be exciting. We are starting with a 1,942 wheat penny with no mint mark. Now, before we reveal why this coin has attracted so much attention, let's take a moment to understand what makes old wheat pennies so fascinating. Because when you hold one of these coins in your hand, you're not just holding a piece of metal. You're holding a tiny piece of American history. And that's where our story begins. The 1,942 wheat penny. Our first coin today is the 1,942 wheat penny. At first glance, it may not look extraordinary. It has the familiar Lincoln design on the front, with Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the famous wheat ears on the reverse. This classic design is one of the reasons Lincoln wheat cents remain so popular among collectors. But now, let's focus on one very important detail. The mint mark. This particular coin is described as having no mint mark. And for someone who isn't familiar with coin collecting, that might sound like a tiny detail that doesn't matter. But experienced collectors know better. A missing mint mark can sometimes tell you something important about where a coin was produced. However, and this is extremely important, not every coin without a mint mark is automatically rare. In fact, many U.S. coins were intentionally produced without a mint mark at certain mints and during certain periods. So when you're examining a 1,942 wheat penny, you can't simply look at the date and say, "This must be worth a fortune." You have to look deeper. You have to examine the condition. You have to check for unusual characteristics. You have to determine whether the coin has any genuine errors or varieties. And most importantly, you need professional authentication when a coin is claimed to have an extraordinary value. Because in the world of rare coins, one tiny difference can sometimes separate an ordinary coin from a truly exceptional collectible. The condition. Now let's talk about the condition of this 1942 wheat penny. The coin we're discussing today is described as being in old condition. And this is where things get very interesting. When collectors evaluate a coin, age alone doesn't automatically determine its value. A coin can be more than 80 years old and still be worth only a small amount. Another coin from the exact same year could potentially be worth much more if it has exceptional preservation, a rare variety, a significant minting error, or extraordinary provenance. That's why serious collectors don't just ask, "How old is it?" They ask, "What makes this coin different?" And that question is the key to understanding rare coins. Imagine finding an old 1942 wheat penny in a box of coins you've owned for years. Maybe you found it at a yard sale. Maybe it came from a family collection. Maybe it was sitting inside an old jar that nobody had opened in decades. At first, you might think it's just another wheat penny. But then you notice something unusual. You look at the date. You inspect the mint mark area. You examine the surface. You start wondering, could this be something special? That moment, that feeling of discovery, is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. The $8 million claim. Now we come to the number that has captured attention. $8 million. Yes, the value claim associated with this coin is an astonishing $8 million. But let's slow down for a moment. A figure this large should never be accepted without strong evidence. In the real world of numismatics, the value of a coin depends on many factors. These can include rarity, condition, authenticity, demand, auction history, provenance, and the specific characteristics of the individual coin. So if you ever see an old wheat penny being advertised for millions of dollars, don't immediately assume that every coin of the same date is worth millions. That's not how the rare coin market works. Instead, think of the $8 million figure as a dramatic claimed or hypothetical valuation connected to an exceptional example, not as a guaranteed price for every 1942 wheat penny without a mint mark. And this is exactly why authentication is so important. If you believe you've discovered an extraordinarily valuable coin, you should have it examined by a reputable professional grading and authentication service. Because the difference between a normal coin and a truly extraordinary coin could come down to details that aren't obvious to the naked eye. The suspense builds. Now imagine this. You have a 1942 wheat penny in your collection. It has no mint mark. The coin looks old. You start thinking, could this be the one? Before you get too excited, remember that there are millions of old coins in circulation and in collections. Most are not worth millions, but that doesn't mean you should ignore them. Because every major discovery starts with someone taking a closer look. That's the lesson every collector should remember. Don't judge a coin by its size. Don't judge a coin by its appearance alone. And never assume that an old coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. Sometimes the most important clues are incredibly small. A date, a mint mark, a doubled design, a strange strike, an unusual metal composition, or a rare variety that most people would never notice. That's why collectors spend hours examining coins under magnification, because the smallest detail can completely change the story. Why 1942 is historically interesting. The year 1942 itself is fascinating. America was living through one of the most important periods in its history. The United States was deeply involved in World War II. The country was experiencing enormous changes. Factories were transforming. Millions of Americans were contributing to the war effort. And coins produced during this era became part of that history. That's one reason collectors love coins from the 1940s. Every old coin has a story. Think about it. This tiny piece of metal was produced more than 8 decades ago. Since then, it may have traveled through countless hands. It could have been used in a store. It could have been saved by a child. It could have been placed inside a bank. It could have disappeared into an old collection. And now, decades later, it could be sitting in front of you. That's the magic of coin collecting. You're not just collecting money. You're collecting history. What should you look for? So what should you do if you find a 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark? First, don't clean it. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Cleaning an old coin can damage its original surface and potentially reduce its collectible appeal. Instead, handle the coin carefully. Hold it by the edges. Avoid touching the surfaces unnecessarily. Take clear photographs. Use a magnifying glass or appropriate magnification. Then compare the coin with trusted references, and, if you believe it may be genuinely rare, seek professional authentication. Don't rely only on online listings. A coin being listed for millions of dollars doesn't mean it actually sold for that amount. The strongest evidence comes from verified auction records, professional grading, and credible numismatic research. And if you're dealing with an extraordinary claim like an $8 million valuation, professional verification becomes absolutely essential. The emotional moment. Now think about the possibility. What if someone found a truly extraordinary coin without realizing what they had? What if it sat in a drawer for years? What if it was passed from one generation to another? What if someone almost spent it? That's why I always tell collectors, look twice. Because the excitement of coin collecting isn't only about money. It's about discovery. It's about history. It's about the possibility that something ordinary could turn out to be extraordinary. Maybe that's why millions of people across America continue to collect coins. Because every coin has a story. But only a few coins become legends. Final reveal for coin 1. So let's recap. Our first coin in today's countdown is the 1942 wheat penny with no mint mark. It's an old U.S. coin with historical significance, and the particular example discussed in today's video has been associated with an extraordinary claimed value of up to $8 million. But remember, that does not mean every 1,942 wheat penny without a mint mark is worth $8 million. The true value of any individual coin must be determined by its exact condition, rarity, authenticity, variety, and market evidence. And that's what makes the search so exciting. Because the next time you find an old wheat penny, you might look at it differently. You might turn it over. You might inspect the date. You might check the mint mark. And you might ask the question every treasure hunter loves to ask. Could this be something special? Transition to coin 2. But don't go anywhere, because this is only the beginning. We've just looked at coin number 1, and we still have 2 more coins to reveal. The next coin could have an even more fascinating story. And when we reach coin number 3, the potential value could completely shock you. So if you have old coins sitting around your home, don't throw them away. Don't spend them without checking. And definitely don't assume that an old coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. Subscribe to Coin Master USA, turn on notifications, and stay with us as we continue searching for the rarest and most fascinating coins in American history. Because sometimes the treasure you're looking for could already be sitting in your pocket. And the next coin could be the one that changes everything. This is Coin Master USA, and our hunt for hidden American treasure continues. Coin 2. Wait! Before you throw away that old penny, before you toss it into a jar, and before you spend it without taking a second look, stop! Because the next coin in our countdown is a 1,958 wheat penny with no mint mark. And this is where things get seriously interesting. Imagine finding an old penny that has been sitting unnoticed for decades. Maybe it's hidden in an old collection. Maybe it's inside a forgotten coin jar. Maybe it's been passed down through your family. And maybe, just maybe, you could be holding a coin with a story that collectors would want to investigate. Today, we're looking at a 1,958 wheat penny in old condition, with no mint mark, that has been associated with an astonishing claimed value of up to $8 million. But here's the twist. Is every 1,958 wheat penny without a mint mark worth millions? Absolutely not. So what makes collectors examine certain coins more closely? What hidden details could potentially separate an ordinary wheat penny from an extraordinary one? And why should you never trust a massive price tag without authentication and real market evidence? Stay with me, because we're about to take a deep dive into coin number 2. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for before you ever decide that an old penny is just pocket change. This is Coin Master USA, and we're going back in time. Intro. Welcome back to Coin Master US. If you love rare coins, valuable coins, American history, and the thrill of discovering something unexpected, you're in the right place. Today, we're continuing our countdown of 3 ultra-rare and potentially valuable U.S. coins. And coin number 2 is a coin that immediately catches the attention of collectors because of its age, its history, and one tiny detail: the absence of a mint mark. Our coin today is the 1958 wheat penny. No mint mark, old condition, and according to the value claim we're examining, a potential valuation of up to $8 million. Now, before we get too excited, let's understand why this coin is interesting and why you should always look beyond the headline price. The 1958 wheat penny. The 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a classic piece of American coinage. On the front, you have the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln. On the reverse, you see the iconic wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent. This design has become one of the most recognizable designs in American numismatic history. But there's something fascinating about holding a coin that was produced more than 6 decades ago. Think about the journey.
This coin was made in an America very different from the one we know today.
It was a time when the country was entering a new era of technology, culture, and economic change. And somewhere during that period, this tiny 1 cent coin entered circulation. For decades, it may have passed through the hands of ordinary Americans, a cashier, a customer, a child, a collector. Maybe it was saved. Maybe it was forgotten. And eventually, it ended up in someone's collection. That's what makes old coins so fascinating. They travel through history. The mystery of the no-mint mark. Now let's talk about the detail that attracts attention. The no-mint mark. When you look at a Lincoln Wheat penny, the mint mark is generally found below the date on the obverse. Depending on where the coin was produced, you may see a letter representing the mint.